Welcome to Comics with Dan. This is the Comics Commute number 15. So I've been reading a lot lately. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I've put a lot of reviews up on my channel. So there's reviews for Fantastic Four number 20. There's a review for Daredevil Volume 1. There's a review for Crocodile Black. Review for Space Ghost. So I've got a lot of stuff cooking. I'm gonna keep doing the individual reviews, but generally for things that are newer, and I'll stick to sort of more back issue stuff that it's been a while since it's been released for the Comics Commute. So in this past week, so last night I read Sanction number 1 from Mad Cave. That one I'm hoping to have a video out around the same time that this is coming out. So I'll talk about that in that video. It was pretty decent. It wasn't too bad. I've read Something is Killing the Children, Volume 2. So I'll talk about that in this video. I read Daredevil number 7 from the Stan Lee run, and it was the best one so far. It has my boy Namor in it. It was great. It was even better than the Matador issue. So I'll talk about that one a little bit. The lead singer of Coheed and Cambria is Claudio Sanchez, is a comic book creator as well. He has this series that he's worked on for years. It's been called the Amory Wars, and his albums go along with it. They partially tell the story. And so this past Wednesday, Boom Studios released the first issue of the second volume of this series. So in anticipation of that, I read the first volume. I got it from the library. I have a review up for the first issue that came out last Wednesday, but I'll talk a little bit about the first volume in this video. I have a review that at this point will hopefully have just been published yesterday when you guys are seeing this, for Choose Your Own Adventure, Forecast at Stonehenge. So I haven't read a Choose Your Own Adventure book in a long time, but I structured the review of that book as a Choose Your Own review, sort of. I didn't want the results of the review to vary because I have what my opinions are of the book, but the way that it's set up is you can kind of skip around to different parts of the review. So I thought it was fun. So when this is released on Wednesday, I'll be getting the Displaced number 4, but I got a chance to read it already. I got an advanced copy from Boom, and it's great. It's probably the best issue since the first issue, and I'm really excited to see how Ed Brisson kind of pulls it to a finish. I have a review of that up as well. Yeah, so let's start with Something is Killing the Children, Volume 2. This is one, so I want to get caught up with this because I want to read the first 4 volumes, which takes you through issue 20. And then they just released a sort of deluxe Part 2 edition that takes you from issues 21 to 35, I believe. And I've already read 36, and 37 comes out either next week or the following week, sometime soon. So I want to get all caught up with that. This volume was pretty good too. I think, again, any sort of criticisms or praise that I have for the series from the first volume kind of carries over to the second. I'm generally speaking not a huge fan of the gratuitous violence, the gore. Personally, the type of horror that I like is sort of putting the characters in a situation and setting it all up for the reader, and then the reader needs to imagine what has happened to them. And I understand that I'm probably in the minority of that, so I'm not going to weigh that too heavily against it, because I know that if you're reading a horror book, it's reasonable to understand that there's going to be some gore in it. But just personally, I would prefer, to leave it up to the reader to kind of figure out what's happening. The story's pretty riveting. I mean, I really want to know sort of the backstory of what's going on with the House of Slaughter. It seems super corrupt. It is kind of striking me as a pretty big American politics allegory, especially considering one of the lines in the volume says, and I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but essentially everyone's so worried about following the rules, they don't care that real people are getting hurt, which I think is pretty indicative of how politicians, both Republican and Democrat, behave. That they're so focused on doing things the way that they want to do them that they don't care what's happening to real people. So, and then obviously, everyone has opinions on, well, but who's doing it worse? And it's like, well, should that really be our level of our standard, But either way, this is a comic YouTube channel, not a politics YouTube channel. So the two intertwine, but we don't have to talk about them too much. We can escape a little bit. But yeah, so Something is Killing the Children, Volume 2. Another good installment. I have 3 and 4 on the way from the library, so then I'll be able to catch up and then read that big second half of the series, and we'll see where it goes from there. So I read Daredevil number 7. So this is and I know it's going to cost me some money, right? But I feel like I need to get this issue. The reason it's a key issue and it's likely to be very expensive is that this is the first appearance that Daredevil has in his red costume. But the best part is I had always wondered why he switched from the yellow and black to a red costume, other than the fact that the yellow and black costume is not the most attractive costume in the world. But the reason given in this issue is that he wanted something more comfortable, and that's it, which I just think is hilarious. I mean, the reason that he switches his entire costume and gets his most iconic costume that he still wears now is that it's more comfortable, which is just too funny. And then I'm going to walk through the plot of this issue. It takes place, interestingly enough, and I didn't plan this, it takes place right before the Tales to Astonish issues that I have been reviewing recently. But Namor is down in Atlantis, and he's taking, he's ruling the kingdom as he does. And everyone's pushing him to say, hey, we want our place on the surface, which, to be honest, has never made sense to me. Why do they want to go up on the surface? They're all pretty conditioned to live underwater. Why not just stay there? But either way, they all want their rightful place up on the surface. And so Namor says he's going to go up and he's going to do something about it. And so then he decides, well, I'm going to go through this by legal means first. I'll follow their laws. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so he decides, I'm going to sue the United States. Or not the United States. I'm going to sue the planet Earth for our rightful place up on the surface. So I better get a lawyer. And so he bashes his way into Nelson and Murdoch. Which, just first of all, Namor trying to sue planet Earth is funny. I mean, that's just, I don't care who you are, that's hilarious. And so he gets in there, and Matt Murdock basically tells him, well, like, there's no real legal precedent for suing the entire planet, suing the human race. And so Namor takes that as they literally won't put him in front of a jury. They won't let him, or he won't be allowed in court, right? So his solution to that is, I'm going to break a bunch of stuff and then let them arrest me, because then they have to let me be in court. But what he fails to realize is that they still aren't going to let him sue the human race. So that all happens. He busts things up. Speaking of, and I posted this on my Instagram, I posted a screenshot of it. Part of when he is, I think it's when he is going up to Nelson and Murdoch, he's waiting for the elevator and says, Namor waits for nothing, and busts the elevator and climbs up. It's just hilarious. It's crazy. And so he does all this stuff. He busts everything apart. Daredevil tries to stop him. He fails. So Namor lets himself get arrested, and he goes to court, and Matt Murdock is representing him, and he's like, well, my client wants to sue the human race. And the judge is like, no, we're going to handle this first. And so then Matt Murdock is like, well, you can't expect him to behave, like a common citizen. He's the sovereign king of Atlantis. He's the Blood Prince. So we need different accommodations. And the judge is like, fine, we'll take a recess and reschedule the court date. And Namor's like, I'm not going to wait more than a day. And they push the hearing out a week. Which, again, this still isn't for him to sue the human race anymore. They still won't let him do it. This is now just for all the property destruction and life-threatening stuff he did. And then he says, I'm not waiting a day. They push it out a week. And so he's like, all right, I'm leaving. Because apparently Krang is trying to take over Atlantis, which is where Tales to Astonish picks up. And so he busts out of jail. Daredevil tries to stop him and fails. And he just leaves. The entire thing being sort of pointless. He shows up, gets super impatient, and then leaves. That's it. It's comic gold, honestly. I need to get a copy of this. It's going to set me back several $100s, I'm sure. But that's my new goal for my prize back issue that I want to get. It's too funny. It's too funny not to. So I read the first volume of the Amory Wars. But so the name of the book is The Amory Wars, Good Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4. Okay. Which, Good Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4 is the name of the album that goes along with this. Which is a great album, by the way, if you haven't listened to it. The story is weird. But truthfully, I think that despite the fact that it's extremely odd, the fact that I enjoyed it as much as I did, even though it was kind of out there, I think says something. So it basically is a this sort of epic, sort of fantasy sci-fi combination, where there's also sort of a parallel dimension where there's a writer who's writing these characters. So the main character is named Claudio Kilgannon, and the writer that's writing him, his name is, I think, Ryder, and which is, Ryder the writer. But the writer is clearly, he's obsessed with these characters and is, I guess in his mind, losing control over the story that's being told about them. But he's obsessed, and the explanation given on the back of the book is schizophrenia. But he's essentially having these sort of schizophrenic episodes, and so you're kind of having two stories, going on at the same time, but they relate to each other, and the themes stay similar. But on the other side, the main character Claudio is attempting to defeat Wilhelm Ryan, who's the main villain, and he has his team with him, and basically the main mission is they go to this planet where they are able to get this item that will cloak them, right? And I don't want to give away too much, because I do think it's worth a read. And so they're on this mission. They go through there, and it's, there's battles. Claudio has these powers. He's dubbed as the Chosen One a few times, which I think is it's a trope. Everybody's the chosen one. There's so many chosen ones. There's like a million chosen ones. So that's a little bit of a tired trope, but and I don't feel like it played too much into it. I guess the idea is that he's the chosen one because he's the main character in the story. But yeah, so that's pretty good. You get a pretty diverse cast and a wide array of abilities and powers and different characters. I'd say that Wilhelm Ryan, the villain, is a little underdeveloped, but the other characters are put together pretty well. But Wilhelm Ryan's he's a scary looking dude, so he's at least a cool looking villain. I think that's definitely worth picking up. If you can find it, there is this really nice, well put together hardcover that collects issues 1 through 12 and the original graphic novel that these 12 issues retell. I did not care for the graphic novel. I didn't even make it the whole way through it. It's bizarre. But the actual 12 issues are pretty good. I actually really enjoyed them. So yeah, the Amory Wars, Good Apollo, and Burning Star 4, and then once you get that, you can read the new issue that just came out last week. And there are other stories prior to that that I was not able to find, or at least readily available before I could read that one. So I know that there's other context out there. But I didn't feel that I was missing too much from it. I thought that I could do without the other context, but you definitely need this first volume of Good Apollo on Burning Star 4 before you read the second volume, because the first issue of the second volume is tying up loose ends from the first and setting the stage for the second. So yeah, it's definitely needed. I think that's all I had. Hopefully I covered everything that I said I would in the intro. I hit 100 subscribers, so that's exciting. Thanks for all of that. I'm going to be trying to get more and more reviews out there, and keep the Comics Commute videos coming as well. So make sure you like this video, and if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of these videos. They come out weekly, so I try to make sure they come out every single Wednesday. And check out these other videos here on the screen. And thanks for watching.